All right, let's dive into this whole Mark Zuckerberg thing.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's got something to say about Zuck these days.
I mean, you guys sent us a ton of stuff,
Articles, social media posts.
even a podcast snippet, so
Yeah, it's definitely a hot topic.
for sure. So where do we even begin with this guy? I mean,
Well, I think it's important to start with, like, the basic context, right? You've got Zuck, the Harvard dropout, right? Turned tech titan. And, I mean, he's worth what? Almost $200 billion?
it's crazy, and it's not just the money.
No, absolutely not.
It's the reach of Meta.
Billions of users. I mean, that kind of influence.
It's unprecedented.
For sure. And the sources really highlight this tension
Oh, yeah.
between his past and his present.
Mm.
You know, we see these glimpses of his upbringing, his
In
parents.
traditional professions, right?
Yeah, seemingly liberal background.
Right.
And yet, his recent actions,
It's like, what's going on?
they paint a different picture.
Okay, so give me the juicy details. What are we talking about?
Well, you know that podcast snippet you mentioned?
Yeah.
They really dive into these eyebrow-raising moments. You know, we've got Zuckerberg dining with Trump at Mar-a-Lago,
Right.
writing that letter to Congressman Jim Jordan,
Whoa.
even praising Trump's response to the assassination attempt. I mean, this is a far cry from the Zuckerberg who...
Yeah, who advocated for open borders, who
Yeah.
criticized Trump's policies.
Exactly.
What's the deal? Is this some kind of calculated political maneuver? Or has Zuck genuinely had a change of heart? What do you think?
Well, the sources offer a few intriguing possibilities.
Okay.
Some suggest, he's trying to appease the incoming administration.
Okay, I can see that.
Right. Meta's facing some serious heat,
Yeah, FTC, censorship concerns.
all of that.
Yeah.
So smoothing things over with those in power
Could be strategic.
could be a way to protect his empire.
It's like he's playing
Right.
it's like he's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's very calculated.
But there's also this other angle,
Okay.
and this is the idea that that Zuckerberg has genuinely evolved,
Okay.
that his views have shifted over time.
Hmm.
You know, the podcast speakers talk about this concept of him recreating himself, aligning with what they call a common sense ideology.
Common sense ideology. What's that? I mean, what does that even mean?
Right, right. Well, the sources point to some specific issues that seem to resonate with this idea. They mention his concerns about early exposure to LGBTQ plus topics in schools,
Okay.
opposition to puberty blockers for minors,
Hmm?
even frustration with policies that seem to stifle businesses like Tesla.
Interesting.
These are hot button topics, right? Often associated with a particular political stance.
Yeah.
But the podcast frames them as common sense, suggesting they resonate with a broader audience.
Beyond party lines.
Exactly.
So less about aligning with a specific party, more about tapping into this broader.
Sentiment.
Yeah. Is he trying to be a populist figure?
It's one interpretation, He's younger than most tech giants.
Right.
And maybe he's playing the long game here, building a wider base of support, regardless of traditional political affiliations. I mean, that could be a really savvy move for the future.
And it's like he's trying to bridge the gap between Silicon Valley and Main Street America.
Yeah.
Speaking of bridges, what about the comparisons to Elon Musk?
Oh, right.
I mean, the guy who seems to relish ruffling feathers.
Right. Right.
I mean, the sources bring him up a lot.
Well, the contrast is fascinating, right? You've got Musk, the outspoken provocateur,
Right.
seemingly embracing risk and controversy.
Yeah.
And then you've got Zuckerberg, who seems to be taking a more calculated approach.
Right.
The podcast even uses that photo of Musk and Trump
Oh, yeah.
sharing McDonald's on a plane.
With Zuck's face in the window.
Like he's on the outside looking in.
That's hilarious. So is Zuck missing that stay paranoid attitude that Musk has? Or is he just playing it smarter?
I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
The podcast seems to admire Musk's boldness, but they also acknowledge that Zuck might be taking a more strategic approach.
Yeah. He's not exactly known for being impulsive.
No, for sure.
But this common sense shift.
Right.
The Mar-a-Lago dinner, the letter to Jordan,
I mean, those are bold moves.
even if they are calculated.
Absolutely.
And it all leads to a fascinating question.
Okay.
Is Zuckerberg truly becoming more independent, willing to defy expectations,
Right.
take risks that could alienate some of his,
Their base?
especially his board? I mean, one source suggested they probably advised against that letter to Jordan, and he sent it anyway,
It takes guts, especially in Silicon Valley.
where everyone seems to
fall in line.
Yeah, with a particular stance.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if he's trying to break free from that mold
Yeah.
to assert his own vision, even if it means ruffling feathers within his own company.
It's like he's saying, I'm not just a tech CEO, I'm a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
So is this the Zuckerberg we've always known, just playing a different game?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this like a genuine evolution, a shedding of his old skin to reveal something new?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And it's what makes him so captivating.
Yeah.
He's constantly evolving, challenging our assumptions, and forcing us to reconsider, like, who he is and what he stands for.
Okay, so I'm hooked. Let's take a deeper dive into this recreation.
Okay.
And see what we can uncover. Like, what are the specifics of this common sense ideology? Is it a genuine shift? Or is it a carefully crafted persona?
Right.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this whole common sense ideology thing a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not about like traditional left or right politics.
That really.
It's like something deeper.
Yeah.
Almost like a return to basic values.
Right. Like, hey, what are we really talking about here?
Right. Exactly. So give me an example. What are we talking about?
Well, the podcast cites Zuckerberg's stance on education.
Yeah.
You know, they mention his concerns about early exposure to certain LGBTQ plus topics in schools. Right. Which, you know, that's a view often associated with more conservative viewpoints.
Yeah.
But they also highlight his frustration with what they see as overregulation in education, particularly policies that seem to stifle innovation in charter schools or limit school choice.
Right.
And that's something you might hear from more libertarian thinkers.
Okay, so it's like he's taking like ideas from different sides.
Yeah.
Almost like he's building his own political buffet.
Exactly. And that's where the common sense framing comes in, right?
Right.
The podcast argues that these issues, you know, while they're often politicized, they resonate with a lot of people who are just looking for practical solutions. You know, like hey, maybe we should focus on the basics of reading and math before we get into the more complex social issues. Right.
It's a way of appealing to a broader audience beyond that typical red versus blue divide.
Right. Yeah, I can see how that would be attractive to someone like Zuckerberg.
For sure.
I mean, he's always been about, you know, connecting people, building bridges. Maybe he sees this as a way to like bridge the political divide as well.
And it's not just education. The sources also point to his views on business.
Oh?
You know, he's been pretty vocal about his frustration with regulations that he sees as stifling innovation.
Right.
Particularly in sectors like energy and transportation.
Okay.
He's even praised Elon Musk for his work with Tesla, despite their differing political views.
It's almost like he's saying, I might not agree with you on everything.
Right.
But, like, I respect your hustle.
Your drive.
Your willingness to, like, challenge the status quo.
And that ties into another point the podcast makes, which is this idea that Zuckerberg might be seeking a new kind of coalition.
Okay. One that transcends traditional political boundaries.
Right.
They even draw a parallel between him and figures like Joe Rogan and Tulsi Gabbard.
Okay.
People who have built, you know, large followings by appealing to a sense of pragmatism and independence.
That's an interesting group to lump together.
Yeah.
I mean, they come from such different backgrounds.
They do.
But they do seem to share that, like, common thread of questioning the establishment and appealing to a sense of, like, common sense.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole recreation so intriguing, right? Right. Is Zuckerberg trying to position himself as the leader of this new movement, like a kind of tech-savvy, data-driven populist?
That's it's a bold move.
It's a bold move, yeah, but is it working?
I mean, it's too early to tell. Yeah. But what's clear is that he's managed to shake things up. He's got people talking, debating, reassessing their assumptions about him.
And in a world where everyone is vying for attention, that's a victory in itself.
It's pretty entertaining to watch, I have to say.
Oh, absolutely.
Zuck, the guy who used to wear the same gray T-shirt every day, is now having dinner with Trump.
Right.
And hanging out with, like, UFC fighters. It's a total image makeover.
And the sources highlight this shift in his personal life as well.
Okay.
They mention him spending more time with his family, embracing his role as a father to 3 daughters. There's even a story about him being spotted at a volleyball tournament in South Beach, Far cry from the boardrooms of Silicon Valley.
At a volleyball tournament. I got to see that picture.
Right. It's like he's trying to show us a different side of himself, one that's more relatable, more human.
Maybe this is about legacy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's built this tech empire. He's amassed this fortune.
Yeah.
But maybe he's looking for something more. Maybe he wants to be remembered for more than just Facebook.
That's a great point. Maybe he sees this common sense movement as a way to like make a real impact on the world, you know, beyond the realm of social media to shape the future, not just digitally, but politically and culturally as well.
And the fact that he's like willing to risk alienating his base, his board,
even some of his closest allies,
suggests that he's like serious about this.
Yeah.
He's not just dabbling.
He's going all in.
He's all in, yeah. And that's what makes it so compelling, right?
Yeah.
We're witnessing the transformation of one of the most powerful figures in the world.
It's like watching a caterpillar morph into a butterfly.
Yeah.
But in this case, we don't know what kind of butterfly we're going to get.
Right.
It could be beautiful.
But it could be dangerous.
It could be something entirely unexpected.
And that uncertainty is what keeps us like on the edge of our seats.
Exactly.
We're not just like observing Zuckerberg's evolution.
All right.
We're experiencing it alongside him.
Yeah. We are all part of this.
So what's the next chapter in this saga?
Yeah.
Where does Zuck go from here?
Well, the sources hint at one intriguing possibility, a potential move into politics. And, you know, they mentioned that he's been increasingly vocal on policy issues, and that he's been meeting with a wide range of political figures.
Zuck for president.
I mean, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility, right?
It's a little.
He's young, he's ambitious.
Terrifying.
He clearly has a vision for the future. and with his resources and influence, I mean, he could certainly shake up the political landscape.
I don't know if I'm ready for President Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, it's a terrifying but fascinating thought.
It's like a real-life science fiction movie.
It really is.
Right.
But even if he doesn't run for office, it's clear that he's becoming like a major player in the political arena.
Oh, absolutely.
His influence extends far beyond the walls of Meta.
For sure. And that brings us to another crucial aspect of his evolution, his financial maneuvering.
Okay.
You know, remember Zuckerberg's net worth took a major hit when Facebook rebranded to Meta?
Oh, yeah.
And their foray into the metaverse?
Did not go as planned.
Not quite, yeah.
That was a rough patch for him.
Yeah.
Facebook stock plummeted.
People were questioning.
Everyone was questioning his leadership.
Yeah, it was like the tech world's version of a midlife crisis.
It really was.
And the sources suggest that this financial setback might have played a role in his shift toward this common sense ideology. You know, maybe it forced him to reconsider his priorities, to look beyond the Silicon Valley bubble and connect with a wider audience.
It's like he realized that relying solely on the tech elite wasn't enough.
Yeah.
He needed to like build a broader base of support. One that included like everyday people who might be more receptive to this common sense approach.
Right. And his actions seem to reflect that shift. Yeah. You know, remember that aggressive Black Friday marketing campaign he launched?
Oh, yeah.
It was a blend of traditional retail tactics and a savvy understanding of online marketing.
It was like he was like bridging those two worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that he was offering discounts on everything. From MetaQuest headsets to bundles of online courses.
Right.
He even had a recording of some exclusive event held at Mar-a-Lago.
He was trying to appeal to everyone.
Yeah, it was like appeal to everyone at once.
Exactly. And that entrepreneurial spirit, that willingness to adapt and experiment, I mean, that's always been at the core of Zuckerberg's success.
Right.
You know, he's not afraid to try new things, to pivot when necessary, to constantly reinvent himself and his approach to the world.
So even as he's navigating this like political and personal recreation, he's also like laser focused on the business side of things.
Absolutely.
Ensuring that Meta remains like a financial powerhouse.
And that's what makes him such a formidable force.
Right.
He's not just a tech visionary or a political player. He's a master of the game, constantly shifting his strategies to stay ahead of the curve.
It's like he's playing 3D chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers.
Precisely. And that brings us to an important question.
Okay.
What what does this all mean for the future?
What?
What's next for Zuckerberg? What new surprises does he have in store for us?
I mean, based on what we've discussed so far, I think anything is possible.
Oh, for sure.
He's already defied our expectations, like, multiple times.
I mean, remember, this is a guy who went from coding in his dorm room to building a global empire that connects billions of people. I mean, who knows what he's capable of next?
Maybe he'll launch his own political party.
Maybe.
Write a self-help book. Become a professional volleyball player.
I wouldn't rule anything out.
I wouldn't either. Okay, so we've explored his common sense shift.
Right.
His political maneuvering, his financial strategies, and even his personal life.
Yeah.
But there's one piece of the puzzle we haven't really touched on.
Okay.
And that's his relationship with his family.
Okay.
And how that might be influencing his evolution. It's interesting to think about, like, how his family dynamics play into all of this.
Yeah.
You know, the sources mention him being a girl dad to 3 daughters.
Right.
I mean, I have to admit, that's got to shape your outlook on the world in some way, right?
Yeah. I mean, the podcast touches on this idea of him wanting to create a better world for his children, one that's, more grounded in those common sense values we discussed.
Right.
So maybe he's looking at the world through a different lens now, with a heightened sense of responsibility for the future.
Right, because you're not just building a company anymore.
No.
You're building a legacy.
A legacy, exactly.
For your kids.
And it's not just about his children either.
Okay.
The sources also paint a picture of Zuckerberg's wife, Priscilla Chan, right, as a strong and influential figure in his life. Right. I mean, she's a pediatrician, a philanthropist, and her work focuses on education, healthcare, social justice. I mean, it's hard to imagine that her perspective wouldn't have some impact on his evolving worldview.
It's like he's surrounded by all these, like, strong, compassionate women who are, like, pushing him to think bigger, to consider the human impact of his actions.
Exactly. And it's interesting to contrast that with the image of him, hanging out with UFC fighters and
jiu-jitsu enthusiasts.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to balance all these different aspects of his life.
Yeah.
The tech CEO.
Right.
A family man.
The guy who's trying to figure out his place in the world. Like a rapidly changing world. It's almost like he's on this quest for personal growth. Trying to become a more well-rounded individual. And that's reflected in his actions, both personal and professional.
And it's playing out on a global stage. I mean, we're watching one of the most powerful figures in the world grapple with these questions of identity, purpose, legacy.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating and a little bit unsettling.
It's like, it is like a real-life social experiment.
It is.
What happens when a tech titan starts, like, questioning the very system that made him?
And we're all part of that experiment now,
We are.
We're watching it unfold in real time, trying to make sense of it all.
So what's the, like, takeaway here? What have we learned about Zuckerberg through this whole...
Well, I think one thing's clear.
Deep dive.
Zuckerberg is a work in progress.
He's not.
He's not the same person he was 5 years ago. And he'll likely be a different person 5 years from now.
Yeah.
He's constantly evolving, adapting, pushing the boundaries of what we thought we knew about him.
He's like a walking paradox.
Yeah.
The tech genius who's struggling to connect with humanity, the billionaire who's searching for meaning beyond money, the introvert who's stepping into the spotlight.
And his evolution is far from over. I mean, he's still figuring things out, testing the waters, pushing himself in new directions.
Yeah.
It's a journey that's filled with surprises, contradictions, and a healthy dose of uncertainty.
And we're all along for the ride, whether we like it or not.
We are. His actions, his decisions, his very presence in the world. I mean, it's going to continue to shape our lives in ways we can't even imagine.
Right. So the next time you see a headline about Zuckerberg, just remember that there's more to the story than meets the eye.
For sure.
There's a complex
and evolving
human being behind that carefully crafted image.
Right.
The man who's wrestling with some of the biggest questions of our time.
It's a story that's still being written.
It is.
And the most exciting part is that we get to witness it unfold.
So keep watching, keep questioning, keep digging deeper.
Yeah.
The more you learn about Zuckerberg, the more you'll realize how much there is to discover.
About ourselves.
About ourselves and the world we live in.
And that's what the deep dive is all about.
It is.
Taking a closer look, challenging our assumptions, uncovering the hidden layers of complexity that make up our world.
We've only scratched the surface here.
We have.
Now it's your turn to dive in and explore.
What stands out to you as most significant?
Keep exploring and see what other insights you uncover.